Google is proving once again just how strong its mid-range game is with the Pixel 4a. Hands-On Tech is brought to you from LastPass Studios. Using the same password everywhere is a security nightmare waiting to happen. LastPass easily creates unique passwords for every site. Visit lastpass.com/twit.
This is TWiT.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Howell. So, if you're in the market for a smartphone right now, you know that right now is very different than any other point in time in recent history. 2020 is just a very unique year. Everybody's looking to save on costs, save their money. And $1,000 smartphones used to be a really big deal last year, the year before, and many years before. These premium smartphones were always the thing that we focused on. Right now, it really feels like we're entering into an era where mid-range devices can shine. So a couple of weeks ago, Samsung announced the Note 20. That's their most premium flagship device that doesn't fold. It starts at $1,000. And right now, here in 2020, might not be the right time to spend $1,000 on a smartphone. Well, Google is taking a different approach. Of course, last year they released the Pixel 3a, which I have right here, kind of their mid-range Pixel device. It was at the top of my list of favorite phones of 2019. This year they've released the Pixel 4a, which I happen to have here and I've been using for a couple of weeks now. And I gotta say, I love Google's commitment to this price range, to this category. Yes, it's basic. It's a little bland in certain ways, but I feel like they get the most important things right with the Pixel 4a. And you can't beat the price. $350 is actually $50 cheaper than the 3a was last year. So let's dive into my review of the Pixel 4a. First off, you got to start with the design. The first time I picked up the 4a, I totally had flashbacks of old Nexus devices. The size, although it's not small, is definitely smaller. It took me back. What can I say? I'm used to these huge phones right now, and this smaller device by comparison was a fresh reprieve. And it feels incredibly light, especially when you compare it to my daily driver, the Pixel 4 XL. So first, materials. The front glass panel is flat here. I totally prefer that over the rounded edges. It has slight curves at the edges here that blends nicely into the body. It's a single polycarbonate unibody design all around on the rest of the device. Very comfortable rounded edges. It just makes the phone feel nice. Now, black is the only color offered, so you don't have a whole lot of options here. It's just one configuration. Only color splash that you're going to find is on the power button, which is an almost too light to notice teal hue. It's really light. The plain backside of the phone is adorned with that slight indentation in the center, the fingerprint sensor, of course, which works perfectly. Much prefer it over in-display fingerprint sensors, to be perfectly honest. Above that, a squarish, a squircle-ish camera bump with a single 12.2 megapixel camera and LED flash. Perhaps all that camera bump real estate is too spacious, maybe, for only two things inside of it, but I wouldn't say that it's ugly. It follows the Pixel aesthetic. Has USB-C charging port on the bottom. Also down there, you'll find some speakers. It has stereo speakers, actually. The bottom firing ones coupled with the earpiece speaker, which overall, by the way, sound pretty tinny, especially when compared to my Pixel 4 XL, so you're not getting amazing sound out of this. And up top, there is indeed a physical 3.5-inch headphone port. Overall, I'd say the design is pretty unremarkable, but that's the thing. It really doesn't need to be any more than that. This phone is all about value. No energy or cost wasted on unnecessary design splashes. And if you happen to put a case on it, like I'm going to, don't have one yet, by the way, then this phone will probably look just like any other Pixel phone. Also, the plastic body, I should say, satisfied me during a camping trip that I was recently on. This phone was exposed to so many elements that would be deadly to a glass back. I can't find a single mark on this phone after wiping it down. Rock solid. All right, the display. I've seen a lot of mid-range devices. Display tech is often one big sacrifice in that category, but the 4a offers a strong panel by comparison. It has a 5.8-inch OLED display at full HD resolution, and yes, that's 1080p. It's not 2K or 4K, but higher resolutions on little displays aren't really that necessary in my opinion. It's the pixels per inch that kind of matter, and the Pixel 4a shows sharp images at 443 pixels per inch. Really nice on the eyes. Front-facing camera is a hole punch this time around. My eyes hardly see it nowadays anyways, so I like it. And the fact that it's an OLED panel means contrast and saturation are actually very pleasing to my eyes. It could maybe be a little brighter in direct sunlight, but I've seen much worse, especially in the mid-range. If I had to ding it, I'd probably say that the 60 hertz refresh rate is noticeable. I've just spent so much time with today's premium devices with a 90 hertz and 120 hertz refresh. But I think it's the right kind of trade-off to nail this cost. Also, remember what it was like to have a phone that you could use one-handed? Well, the 4A makes that more achievable with this display than I've seen in a while. All right, the camera. At this point, I almost feel like the camera is a known quantity, which is to say that the camera in the 4A is like the Pixel 4 camera, which is like the 3A camera, and so on and so forth. In other words, the camera is possibly this phone's strongest feature. No, there are not any extra lenses, so you're not going to get wide angle or telephoto, but 12.2 megapixel rear camera actually produces some of the best and easiest shots on mobile phones today, let alone the mid-range category. The camera is dependable. You just pull it out, shoot, and you're likely to end up with a shot that you can be proud of. The front-facing camera is fine, definitely a step down from the rear-facing camera, but serviceable enough. And then the Pixel camera app actually offers a number of modes: portrait mode, night sight, even astrophotography features in night sight that perform just as good as any other Pixel. Also, you get neat features like slow motion and time lapse that produce excellent results. If I had to ding it, video capture is where I'd go. It's up to 4K quality, so that's great. Video hasn't necessarily been a Pixel phone strong suit. It's always just kind of good, just not amazing. But for $350, I'm not complaining at all. Ultimately, there are no other $350 phones that rival this camera combined with Google's computational photography prowess, period. Now, as for performance, Google got the price down with the Snapdragon 730G inside, which I will admit concerned me at first, but it's manufactured in the 8nm process, which helps, and they coupled it with a sizable 6 gigs of RAM. Sizable for this price point, that is. You also happen to have 128 gigs of storage on the inside, which is excellent as well. Simply put, my concerns were unwarranted. It's solid in everyday stuff like home screen navigation, jumping between apps, typing long emails, that sort of stuff. Scrolling through Twitter can sometimes be a little jumpy, but not much more than I'm used to on more powerful devices, but I did see it. I've honestly had a hard time finding much to fault this device for in terms of its performance, and that's saying something for a $350 device. If I had to pick a category, though, it would obviously be gaming. That's where the real dips start to appear. Asphalt 9 was pretty choppy throughout as I played it, and as my daughter played it. Call of Duty, though, played remarkably well, so it's kind of a mixed bag. But let's be real, you aren't getting this to be a high-performance gaming device. Once again, Google balanced things out appropriately, and I like what they've done. Battery life is always down to kind of the unique ways we all use our devices. I'm in my home about 95% of the time these days, sitting on my hammock, some of the time anyways. Having said that, I did take this camping for a weekend. Battery was solid, always around 30 to 40% left at night with moderate to heavy use. Certainly, one thing that helps are little touches like the Eclipse wallpaper. It's an exclusive wallpaper that starts with a wash of dark blue and purple and then fades to black throughout the day as battery is used. It's kind of hard to see in the video that I'm showing here, but the display is OLED. So that means that black pixels are actually deactivated pixels. So that saves on battery over time, and that's a nice bonus. This is the Pixel launcher, so the software is a known quantity. I know it. I love it. It's a great mix of stock and light customization. Has Assistant that's running locally on device, so you get faster offline interactions in many cases. Turn on the lights in the master bedroom.
Sure. Turning 3 lights on.
Also includes things like Google's personal safety app with car crash detection, and safety check is another feature that's on board. A lot of nice little touches. This does launch with Android 10, but we know that Android 11 is literally right around the corner, And this is going to be updated immediately once it's out. But if you have an itchy trigger finger, the beta for Android 11 is supported on the Pixel 4a. So if you're impatient, you can jump over right now while you wait. Google promises 2 years of full version updates, 3 years of security updates, which I have to say now feels a little low. I appreciate that Google has dedicated itself to its update track record, and that's great. They're the best with timely updates. I want more time from them. They can do it. Just make it happen, Google. I believe in you. So overall, like I said, the Pixel 3a from last year was at the top of my list of favorite smartphones of 2019, and I fully envision that the Pixel 4a is going to be right there at the top in 2020. It's just the right time for this kind of phone, and I think Google is doing a great job of showing why they don't need to play the high specs, high premium device game. $350 is just great, and you're going to get plenty of phone out of the 3A. Yes, they've made sacrifices. You're not going to find wireless charging here or squeeze for assistant or 5G support, but you get enough phone for the cost, and they really nailed the most important things out of the gate. For $350, you just can't beat it. It becomes a lot harder to recommend and find space for $1,000 plus device as a result. You can catch my reviews all over the TWiT network, reviews like this one. Check out All About Android. Also, I do an interview show, news interviews, along with my co-host Micah Sargent. That's called Tech News Weekly. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Anthony Nielsen for editing, and we'll see you next time.
Keep up with all the hottest tech news and gadgets. Visit twit.tv. There you'll be able to find and subscribe to all our tech shows. Thanks for watching Hands on Tech.